So far we have only touched in a cursory way on the development of science and technology in China. It is surely one of the greatest ironies in world history that the people who, because of their very open society, largely unblinkered by religious dogma, gave the world most of the major advances in this field, should so completely lose touch with it all. But that is what happened. Like many people who start to delve into the mysteries of China, this man, Sir Joseph Needham, became completely captivated by what he was uncovering. He became so involved in the science and civilization of China that he devoted more than half his life to producing the massive work of this name. It was work that had never been done by the Chinese themselves, as they had more or less completely lost interest in it. So today he is much respected in China by those who understand what he did. Certainly there was much to be uncovered. It is important to mention that the work he produced is as much a commentary on human civilization itself as it is about the part of the world we call China. Perhaps we should start with the fact that about 2,000 years ago, Chinese builders and engineers used a form of the decimal system for counting. This enabled them to accurately build bridges and walls and canals that have wonderfully stood the test of time. They used rods laid out in tens to do this. Their principal lack was the idea of zero, which was only discovered, possibly by an Indian mathematician, in the 13th century. But the genius of the inquiring Chinese mind was hardly ever at rest for the centuries that followed. A cursory list goes like this: gunpowder, the compass and clever navigational aids for seamen based on a thorough understanding of astronomy, of the movement of the stars, porcelain manufacture, hydraulic systems, shipbuilding, mechanical engineering, gears, pumps, mills, and the like, road and bridge building, walls, fortifications, canals and locks, buildings such as houses and temples, town planning, printing, paper manufacture, chemistry. A remarkable work exists, published in the 14th century in China, which describes Chinese technology as it had developed over the previous 1,000 years or more. This series of locks on the Midi Canal in the south of France is rightly seen as one of the major steps in the application of science to human development. The canal links the Mediterranean Sea to the Atlantic, which meant goods could be transported by this means instead of having to go all the way around Spain. Ingeniously, the locks fill or empty, and the boats in them are carried up or down as they require. Although now worked by electric motors turning the gears which pull the gates open, the principles involved are exactly those developed by the Chinese 1,000 years or more before. The Midi Canal was a European showpiece of the 17th century. The Chinese had already done it. To do these things, you need peace and stability. You need time and application by intelligent folk, and the wealth and vision to put them into effect. This sort of thing happened under the Roman Empire, when long periods of stability allowed the building of this water aqueduct across the river Gard in Provence. The Romans demanded a good water supply and knew how to obtain it. In the same way, they built roads and buildings which were of such quality that they have stood the test of time and are in styles which are still imitated today. But for most of the centuries after the Romans, Europe stagnated under the control of feuding superstitions. China, on the other hand, was a relatively open society and certainly experienced the necessary long periods of stability which produced huge technical advances. Demonstrating Chinese technical advances drove Needham to produce many exciting volumes, but one example in the matter of shipbuilding is worth following up.